Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The rifles here in Black Ops 7 are honestly pretty well balanced in my opinion. You've got different rifles for a bunch of different play styles. Some that are meant for more so rush heavy gameplay, a little bit more AR SMG hybrid like. You've got some really good mid to long range options as well. And today, originally, I was just going to do the top 5 best rifles in this video and we'd break those down. But I'm sitting there thinking, wait a second, why not just add in the one extra one, right? So first up here, I want to break down the stats here because we actually have community breaking down the various TTK values for all of the rifles here: the mod, the Maverick, the Mirage, the Peacekeeper, the AK, and the MXR. You can see there is quite a bit of parity here. For instance, if you were to look at the average time to kill per the different damage ranges here, up close first 10 meters, not necessarily where you're always going to be using rifles, but you might find yourself in some situations there. The MXR is crazy. In the close range slash the mid range here, 10 to 40 meters, MXR is pretty good. The mod is all right, although some of the nerfs to it do change up how it plays in general here. The AK is pretty solid there too. Then at the longest distances, you're probably realistically fighting at here 40, 50, 60 meters on some maps, right? Or if you're playing skirmish, of course, the AK sort of takes over. The Mirage becomes a little bit better. The Peacekeeper's in there too. So you got a lot of different options here depending on the type of weapon you're looking for. The Maverick, even though its TTK isn't crazy, has basically no recoil whatsoever here, and so it's going to be a laser beam, and its realistic TTK factoring in accuracy may actually be way faster than what the graph may present. So like, there's no real bad rifle here. All of these do a job effectively to some extent, which is really good balancing on Treyarch's part, I would say. But this out of the way, now let's jump in. Let's break down the best setup you want to be using for every one of these rifles. So first up here with the mod, this gun's already actually received some different changes and adjustments since launch. Obviously, this was like the go-to #1 rifle because it was so crazy at first. They did keep it in balance some with some nerfs the other day, but overall, it's still a very versatile rifle, and it's really aggressive, which is my favorite part of it. You can really run and gun with this thing and not really run into too many issues with it in general here. As far as the setup goes, we'll be focusing fully on gunfighter loadouts here with 8 attachments, and you can just sort of take out what you don't value the most in your setup if you're looking to just use 5 attachments because you want a different wild card there. But first up, I think this optic is honestly really clean, quite frankly, so I go for the default irons there. Don't really feel the need to use an elo sight or a 2x or something else. I'm comfortable with that. I do go for the compensator in this case, just helping out straight up with that vertical recoil control on there. I also use the bullet velocity barrel, and you'll see why here towards the end of the setup. But obviously, anytime you get better velocity, it's just going to make it feel like your gun is hitting more consistently and more efficiently in like the mid-range fights that you get into here. I also really like the iron hold angled grip. This is going to give you some horizontal control, some aim locking steadiness, just makes the gun feel a little bit more accurate. It doesn't have a ton of recoil here to begin with, so you could use something like the horizontal control grip, and that'll be good. But personally, I just really like the feel of the iron hold myself on here. Because I got 8 attachments, figured why not get some extra ammo here. The 45 round extended mag doesn't really have any basic cons, so we're kind of just chilling with some extra ammo, the added safety net there. I go for the Paragrind grip here with the rear grip based around ADS speed, or the quick draw one, so just to snap your ADS, never a bad option to have on an aggressive rifle. I personally also really like the Wander 3V stock for the better strafe speed. I love guns that have a good strafe speed. It plays so well into how I play and how I engage in gunfights, so this is always a huge bonus for me. I also really like the 3 milliwatt motion strike laser. A laser giving us better stabilization and range. That's a win-win for sure. And then the prestige attachment here, the 5.56 NATO rounds give you a better damage range. You also get better inflicted flinch. No mini-map ping, so it functions as a suppressor. It does hurt your velocity though, and that's why I'm using the velocity barrel here just to gain some of that back. We end up with an 870 velocity, which will be fine for all maps in this game basically. But this is a really, really versatile setup. Now, if you were just running 5 attachments, you could probably take out the extended mag, this stock, and then one of maybe a barrel or a fire mod. You could change that out how you see fit. Personally, I think this thing really thrives with gunfighter. And of course, if you want to copy the build code, I will have those all in the description next to which gun we're talking about at that time with just the timestamps there. But yeah, the mod is great. Next up here, we've got the AK-27. I really like the feel of this thing as well. It just kind of feels like it hits in general. Like it's pretty strong over the mid-range here. After you get down with the recoil pattern and you sort of learn that, this thing can be really, really accurate. Its recoil is a little bit weird. It does have a little bit of shake to it, but that's not anything you can't counter by going through and of course stacking certain attachments on here. here. So in this case, I am using the lethal tools elo. I basically spam the lethal tools constantly. Like, this is by far my favorite optic in this game. So chances are if I'm using an optic, it's going to be this one, unless I'm focused like exclusively on some super long range engagements there. Again, I'm rocking the compensator for that vertical recoil control. I go for the hybrid barrel in this case for some better range, some better velocity. All in all, we end up with an 815 velo, and the damage ranges there pretty generous. 28 meters that first damage range, and then all the way out to 69 meters in that second damage range is pretty solid there. Horizontal control under barrel here with the lateral precision, just helping out with that horizontal bounce. This gun does have a noticeable amount of that, so that's obviously very important here. No magazine in this case. Instead, we are going for the lathe thin rear grip for the better ADS there. I'm always typically rocking the ADS rear grip on the rifles here, just because anytime you can get that faster ADS speed, that's always a good thing. We've got the Victor 7R stock, which is going to be that strafe stock yet again. Love the feel of this. If you want to opt for some control or something else here, the Pugil could also work fine. Obviously coming in a preference in your level of comfortability with the weapon itself. Again, the 3 milliwatt motion laser for that better range and recoil stabilization. Love that. And then I also definitely want recoil springs on here as well for that better recoil control. If you were rocking just 5 attachments in this case, you're probably looking at taking out maybe the laser, the stock, and then probably the rear grip, just because you do want to focus on accuracy with this thing overall. But this is a really great gunfighter build for what it's worth. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons and setups here today, if you guys enjoy the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It's always seriously appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, you want to ensure you're always in the know for everything going on in COD, no better place than right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. Next up, the MXR-17. This is easily my favorite rifle in the game. I genuinely just love the feel of this gun. I love the clean irons. They actually change up depending on which barrel you're using. This thing's going to absolutely fry the opposition. It's so strong, and as we saw in that graph, it's got a crazy good TTK as well. I have a feeling this is going to be one of my main guns in Warzone for this year for sure. Here, again, I like those clean irons. They do change based on which barrel you're using. Like, for instance, I've got the hybrid barrel. I think these irons are really clean, so we get the better range velocity and different irons out of those. Compensator on here yet again for that vertical recoil control. Definitely going to help out with how this weapon behaves specifically. We've got the Century Pro hand stop here for that better horizontal control, the steadiness, reduced sway, and everything there. The extended mag here, just straight up free extra ammo. Never a bad thing. We've got the extra attachment, right? The Celerity rear grip for the better ADS speed on there. We've got the movement stock for the better strafe yet again. We've got the 3 milliwatt motion laser for that better range and stabilization, and then recoil springs once more. Really, if you can get the control down in this thing and get to a point where you can accurately, consistently hit upper body shots, especially 1 or 2 headshots, this thing's just going to rip. Once more, if you were looking for just 5 attachments here, probably looking at taking off the stock, the rear grip, and then probably the magazine as well for what it's worth. Following that, we've got the Maverick, our burst rifle, and I mean, as you can see, this thing is an absolute laser beam. It is easily the lowest recoil rifle because it's a burst. Now, obviously, it's going to function a little bit different because of that. You're going to have to get used to those types of engagements where there is going to be that slight delay in between the bursts, but I don't think it's too high of a skill gap with this gun. It's also incredibly versatile, really good in the close range as well for what it's worth. I really love the feel of this thing. It was one of my favorite guns so far that I've maxed out, gotten the Singularity camo on and everything. Again, a weapon that I think really benefits from having Gunfighter, where you can just load this thing up. Going for the lethal tools elo yet again for that clean optic on there. The irons aren't too bad for what it's worth. I also go for the compensator vertical control. There's not a ton of vertical noise here or vertical recoil, but it's going to help out some. Also, the Nova burst though, with that kick reset speed, could be something worth looking into as well, considering it's a burst and everything. We've got the long barrel on here for the better range. There's actually some pretty cool barrels on here, like the quick load one hurts your range a little bit, so I don't love that for the prestige attachment, but it's also going to make it way more aggressive, which is cool. The heavy long barrel for better control and range isn't too bad either. You really can't go wrong with several of these. There's a lot of really good choices there, but I prefer the long barrel myself. I've also got the mobile recoil foregrip on here for some movement speed, some sprinting movement speed, and horizontal recoil control, so you're still being a laser beam, but you're also a little bit more aggressive. That's a win-win. The pillory rear grip for the better ADS speed, the Strider overstep stock for the better strafing speed, again with that 3 milliwatt motion strike laser for the better range on there, and then recoil springs. I figured, why not? You could try rapid fire, but it's going to hurt your range and your velocity. I'm not a huge fan of that. Overpressured is solid. You're going to end up with a 912 velocity. Seems a little overkill. I mean, this thing is not difficult to use, so recoil springs might be overkill for some people. Quite honestly, if you're using just 5 attachments, you could probably take off the recoil springs, take off the stock, take off the rear grip, and you're going to be just fine with just the basic 5 attachments on here too. Next up here, we've got the Peacekeeper, obviously a classic COD weapon. This thing this year is a little bit surprising. I figured it was going to kind of be like the main go-to rifle. It's definitely kept in check by its control mostly here, quite frankly. You'll notice, especially as you get out into some range ranged fights, the thing's recoil can be a little bit more noticeable, but you're still able to land shots on it relatively consistently, especially if you're using a setup like this, which really focuses on the control. Yet again, we've got the elo side on there. Surprise, surprise, I know. Once more, going for that basic compensator with that vertical recoil control. I also go for the hybrid barrel. This thing's velocity is not fantastic, so I do still want that better damage range for sure, but a 724 velocity with this on there will be sufficient enough for the vast majority of maps you're playing on here. Lateral precision grip for that better horizontal control, in my opinion, a must-have here. Free extra ammo right with our extended mag because we do have gunfighter on here, can't turn that down. Although if you're comfortable with the default mag, you could switch that out for the motion laser strike as well, or in this case it's known as the EMT3 agile for the range and the stabilization there for what it's worth. We've also got the rapid lock grip for the better ADS speed. I like the counter force C1 stock. This is the prestige attachment, better control across the board, hurts your ADS and sprint to fire, not a huge deal here, but I do like the added control on this gun in specific. That's why I also run recoil springs here too. Quite frankly, I don't know if I'd rock a 5 attachment build on the Peacekeeper. I think it's basically a gunfighter thing, because then at that point you're probably taking off the rear grip, you're probably taking off the magazine, and then you have to forfeit likely either some range with the barrel and some velocity or some control elsewhere, which I'm not really a huge fan of. So for me, gunfighter is going to be the way to go here. And then lastly here we've got the Mirage. This thing really feels like the AK in a lot of ways. It's very similar to it as far as its stats go. As far as the feel goes, there's something about this rifle to me that just feels weird. But for me, after I've gone through and I've tested this gun out a lot with different setups here, I have finally found one that I think makes this gun feel a lot more stable and useful, and that's going to be this one here. Lethal Tools Elo. Yet again, I'm sorry if you like a different optic. This is by far my absolute favorite. Once more, we've got the compensator for the vertical control. Really, it's the control that throws me off with this gun. It just got some weird jumps here and there, but this setup really does help calm it down some. Hybrid barrel for the better range and velocity. We got an 846 velo. Range is going to be decent as well. Out to 62 meters, you're looking at a decent stat number there. We've got the force stabilizer hand stop for that better horizontal control here. No extended mag in this case. Instead, we're going for the accuracy grip for the better vertical control and first shot control on there. We've got the Redwell carry-on stock for the better strafe. I feel like I gotta have that on my builds. Motion laser yet again for the range and stabilization, and recoil springs once more for that better vertical and horizontal control. This is gonna make the weapon way more accurate than the default build for sure. That said, if you weren't using gunfighter, you're gonna have a tricky time I think with this gun and its overall feel, because you're probably dropping off the stock, maybe the rear grip, and then one of potentially the laser or the barrel, and either or there you're gonna be losing some efficiency for what it's worth. So once more, I really feel like gunfighter is kind of going to be the way to go here. But that being said, it's going to wrap things up. Those are the best setups for every single rifle in Black Ops 7 right now. If you guys enjoyed the video, you found it helpful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, you want to ensure you're always in the know for everything going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.